This is a quick guide how to consistently resolve Fall of Faith in Futures Rewritten. Fall of Faith is a 9-second cast that targets 4 players with tethers. Each tether requires 3 players to resolve, with a tethered player being rooted and acting as the origin point for the AoEs. The tethers can be blue, thunder or orange fire. Thunder causes the closest 3 players to get targeted by a white cone, while fire causes the closest player to get targeted by a cone that has to be shared by 4 players, including the tethered player. While survivable with less, a 90% damage down is applied if taken with less players. The tethers go off in 3-second intervals and apply a 4-second magic wand. This means to resolve the mechanic you require to group up tether 1 and 3, as well as 2 and 4, with 2 players assisting each side in resolving the mechanic. The tethers always spawn in the same order, the first from the boss, the second from the clone northwest, the third north and the fourth northeast. Useful to know if you forgot to count and have to figure out which tether you are. Early strategies were mainly a CONGA line. The issue is, after the cast finishes and applies the last tether, there's very little time to adjust, and with all the visual noise it is easy for a 5-3 split to happen or players not deciding on their spot for the thunder baits. To resolve this more consistently, just as tethers are applied one by one, players of the CONGA line should adjust one by one. To understand this strategy, we have to understand that each side has to have 4 players, 2 which are tethers and 2 helpers that assist with baiting thunders and stacking for fires. We assign the healers and rangers as helpers before the mechanic even starts. Tanks and melees will line up south of the boss and be ready to adjust. From here on out, I will refer to the pre-positioned healers and rangers as fixed players and the tanks and melees in the line as adjusting players. In a perfect world, the tethers would appear on the 4 adjusting players, simply moving between the pre-positioned ranged players, 1 and 3 west, 2 and 4 east. Obviously, the tethers are random and there are 2 cases that require a simple adjustment. Let's use a worst case scenario as example. When a tether spawns on one of the adjusting players while they are still in the line, they simply move to their position. Tether 1 and 3 west, tether 2 and 4 east. The other players do not move or adjust in this case. When a tether spawns on one of the fixed players, the closest adjusting player takes their place. This is regardless if the tether forces the player to cross over or not, as either way they lose their status as a helper and become a tether instead. It only matters where the tether spawns. When a tether spawns on one of the adjusting players after they have moved to replace someone, then you treat them just like a fixed player, which means the closest adjusting player remaining in the line will take their spot. Again, it is always the closest adjusting player that takes the spot. I repeat this because in this example all 4 tethers spawned on the left side, so the player is adjusted from left to right, which won't be the case usually. For example, if the first tether spawns on the right side, it would be M2 adjusting first. Lastly, everyone should take note of the boss's color to make sure to resolve the first tether correctly as thunder or fire. Every other tether can be checked after the cast has finished and everyone is in position, as the tether itself glows with fire or thunder. Keep in mind, it is still barely day 3 of the fight being available. There is potential for better strategies to emerge. However, so far this one seemed the simplest and most reliable to me, as it slows down the mechanic, players can move one by one, and there's almost no danger of thunderbait accidents thanks to players replacing others in their position. See you in the next video. Menari out.